It's true. The Rays, when they're supposed to sweep, they don't do it. When they're supposed to win these series, they don't. It's really a playing down to the competition that has plagued them in 2025.
I'll just say this. Brandon Lowe being out of the lineup is a big hole, obviously.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
Bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
We're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 7th season covering the Rays daily.
So grab your favorite Rays gear and settle in as we discuss a couple interesting games against the Chicago White Sox. Didn't expect what's happened so far. We'll get into that. Plus, we have some mailbag questions to dive into on today's program.
Yes, we do. But before we get to all of that fun stuff, we got to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
All right. So we are recording on Wednesday, and we have what transpired on Monday and Tuesday. Monday, a bludgeoning, if you will. I'll call it that because it's against the lowly White Sox, who I think during that run were on a 4-game winning streak out of the All-Star break, believe it or not. So very un-White Sox-like to put up 8 runs against a decent opponent. Shane Baz giving up all 8 runs in 4 innings. I guess it was just a case of, hey, we're just going to take the L here. Not much we can do. We're not going to dump the bullpen for a game that's already out of hand. So Shane Baz, keep throwing him down the middle of the plate, I guess, and see what happens. And we saw some home runs, some extra base hits, and a lot of hijinks with that. And then on Tuesday's game, the Rays built a lead and then almost lost it. They were lucky enough to pull out a victory 4-3, but I'm just going to put it out right now. The Rays have to play better. They have to play better when different opponents come to their building or they go on the road, because if they perform like they performed in the first 2 games against the White Sox, probably not going to be a good situation for the Rays to say, yeah, we trust this team and we'll be buyers at the deadline and do everything we can to help this club. They're a little bit flat, I guess we could say.
You just can't be playing 500 ball against clubs like the White Sox and clubs that are under 500. You cannot do that. The formula is, against tougher opponents, you might go 500, but then you have to obliterate those teams like the White Sox, and the Rays haven't been able to do that. I think there was a very poignant comment by Rain Man Goulet a day ago, said White Sox took game 1 and crushed Baz. Don't know how, but they have to win this series or you can say goodbye to this season. So Kevin, don't even hint at it, because this is what happens when the White Sox take game 1. Please stay humble. This team gently keeps on reminding you of that. And it's true. The Rays, when they're supposed to sweep, they don't do it. When they're supposed to win these series, they don't. It's really a playing down to the competition that has plagued them in 2025.
Yeah, it's tough. And I know we've talked about injuries on this program the last couple of days, but it's like, what more can go wrong with that? Because Brandon Lowe goes to the IL. Manny Rodriguez shifted to the 60-day IL. Yep. There's been more of a setback or slowing down of Shane McClanahan with biceps tendonitis. Hunter Biggie is back with the team, but I will say it's very hard to win games. I'll just say this. Brandon Lowe being out of the lineup is a big hole, obviously.
It's a big hole, and then you combine it to the fact that Ha-Seong Kim is not in the lineup either. So now you have to count on Taylor Walsh's bat, which is not something that you want to put green skittles on, right? So it is a weaker lineup when Bilal is not there, 100%, and then you add on Kim being out, which probably, from what Cash said last time he was in front of a mic, he said hopefully we can get through until Friday so we can give him that off day, and then we can see where we are. But that means, okay, then they're either going to take it as a pinch hitter situation on Wednesday. He might get a start, he might not. But Wednesday, you just have to win. You got to win against the White Sox. Like, I know baseball, you can win. Anybody can win at any point. But if you're trying to still stay in this fight and show your front office that you could be a team that could go into the playoffs and do something in the playoffs, you can't be losing games to these White Sox. You just can't.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I guess as far as run support goes, here's maybe part of the philosophy is anytime and every time that Chandler Simpson gets on base, he has the green light, because we got to turn that single or a walk into a double or triple, because we have to, I suppose, do our best to manufacture runs without Brandon Lowe and without Ha-Seong Kim. And, you can't rely on Yandy Diaz to carry the team every night. And we know about Junior Caminero as well. But I think the Rays will have to be a little bit more creative offensively, perhaps bunting or doing whatever they have to do to get runs aboard, especially if they're not going to take advantage of a weak pitcher on them.
Well, look at the names that you said, and the one that you didn't say was one that we really were hoping for good things in 2025, which was Josh Lowe. And he just has been kind of MIA, just not giving you exactly what you thought. Let me pull it here. He's hitting .235 with a .690 OPS, 6 home runs in the season. This is not the kind of guy that we saw in 2023. We know 2024 he was hampered by injuries. 2025, a little bit of an IL stint to begin the season after that first game. But who's Josh Lowe?
That's the $1 million question.
Like, is he 2023 or is 2024 and 2025 really like, or 2020? It's okay. Like, some guys, I've said this theory for over a decade now. If you give a talented player enough of a rope on a roster and everything aligns, they most likely will have a career year that can compare to anybody in the league at any point. Right. Casey Kochman, James Loney, Jeff Keppinger, everybody that gets up there and has enough time on the roster and enough time in the league, they can put something together like that. Maybe that was Josh Lowe's year. And I wouldn't be surprised, to be quite frank, to see him being shipped off during the trade deadline.
Yeah, he's a guy that really nobody's named, and maybe part of the reason is because there is that hope and belief that he can return to that 2023 form. But, honestly, if you look at the numbers, he's kind of sliding a little bit from 2024 to 2025. I mean, it's essentially the same from what he did last year to this year. But that's the great question is, what is he? And maybe he's a little bit in between 2023 and what he's done in 2024 and 2025, which is fine. But I think that based on what he did a couple of years ago, we had so high expectations of, okay, he's going to be a middle of the order bat. He's going to be a cornerstone. Heck, let's go ahead and give him a contract extension. And I know injuries get in the way sometimes, but maybe he just can't find his right footing after all that. We hope he does. But the tough part about trading him is you're not going to get, I guess, as great value unless you can really convince another organization to say, hey, he can be that 2023 player. We'll give you a little bit of a bargain price, but just know that, what we want in return is for a guy that we think has all-star potential.
Well, I think if you really want to capture his value, you probably would like to package him so that, if you are dealing a Zach Littell, for example, Josh Lowe could give you a nice little get back. So I'm not saying that he will get traded. I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised because he just has been underwhelming. And now with Johnny DeLuca starting rehab assignments, Richie Palacio starting rehab assignments, You've got a new outfielder platoon bat in Stuart Fairchild, who we'll talk a little bit more on the second segment. You've got plenty of outfield arms. And hey, guess what? Christopher Morel. Hey, guy, you made 2 starts in a row in a month. What's your role, Christopher Morel? We really there's a lot of questions to answer before the trade deadline comes. But before we get to all of that, we got to tell you about something very important on the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning that big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money, it's more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. We all like that, right? So go ahead, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Okay, let's get to a couple of mailbag questions here. This first one from our friend Rachel in Tampa. She says, do you think the Rays should add any offensive bats and relief arms to fix this mess they are in if they want to compete for a playoff spot? Also, what do you think they should do with Taj Bradley? There have been rumors circling around that he might get traded. What are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Well, Rachel, thank you for writing to us consistently now for 3 years? It's
Yes.
been great. So thank you for that. Look, regarding offensive bats, I don't think we're going to see much more than Stuart Fairchild.
And we got that in spades.
We got our Stuart
Fairchild, the man that everybody's been asking for.
Well, that's why you ask and Neander will provide. In 51 ABs, he's hit .216 this year. He can play all 3 outfield positions, has really good glove, has really good speed. And in parts of 5 seasons, he has a 746 career OPS against left-handers. So lefty starts, wouldn't mind having that guy in the lineup. Sure.
Yeah. For the record, look, I don't think many people are jumping out at the gym for Stuart Fairchild, but his career OPS is basically the same as what Chris Morel and Josh Lowe are delivering right now. So take that's more of an indictment on Lowe and Morel, but he's just a guy who has major league experience that you can plug in there and hope he gets hot and plays hard. That's really all you're asking for. He's going to be I would be willing to bet green Skittles he will not be on the roster in 2026. This is just a holdover injury insurance.
Is he a Morel replacement?
I mean, temporarily, but I don't see him as a long-term replacement. Maybe that is.
No, is he is he going to take Morel's spot because Morel is being shipped out, and then for 2025, whatever Morel has been giving you, they're just going to give it to Stuart Fairchild.
Yeah, I can see that.
Better speed, like you said, very close to career OPS to what you're getting from Morel right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the Rays are working ahead of everybody else, where let's go ahead and get our guy that can hold the fort as we're trying to maneuver deals for Chris Morel and maybe sort of a package. So it's not super exciting. It's not super sexy, but I understand the move. And that's pretty much the extent of what you're getting. You're getting more Stuart Fairchild instead of more Nelson Cruz. Like that's what it is. Now we can hope for maybe another bullpen arm, but the one bullpen arm they acquired, Brian Baker, he's given up home runs left and right seemingly. So they're trying, but I don't see them making major additions. Think of the relief version of Stuart Fairchild. That might be what you get.
And with just an insight here with Baker, again, it was a fastball down the middle. He He has to elevate that fastball if he wants to be successful. Like I think it was right down the middle, man.
Yeah.
Like yesterday's pitch.
Even though it's the White Sox, and even though they're the worst offense in baseball and probably have the fewest amount of home runs in baseball or very close to it, if Shane Baz puts a fastball down the middle, if Shane Baz puts a knuckle curve that breaks right in the middle of the zone, if Brian Baker throws one down the middle, even a double-A player will
And I don't care if it's
contact.
97. I don't care if it's 97. I don't care if it's a rookie and that's his first home run. Like, they can catch up to it, man.
Yeah.
They can catch up to it. So that's one thing with Baker. Now, Rachel does say something about what do you think they should do with Taj Bradley? There are some rumors circling around stating that he might get traded. Look, I feel like Taj Bradley is an incredibly talented young pitcher. I think he can put it all together. Has he put it all together in Tampa? Not quite. He did have those 9 starts that were elite last year, and he's had some starts this year that just make you want to, tear your hair out because you can see the potential, right? Okay. I don't think he's at his optimum value right now to be traded. However, pitching is very, very difficult to get, especially under control, especially with an arm with potential like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tosh would be moved. However, you have to think about the inner workings of how the Rays function. The Rays don't go out to get pitching. They trade for that, for controllable arms. So you're going to give away something that you usually want. That would be difficult to see. And the other thing is, with Shane McClanahan going down, not really going down, but experiencing some setbacks, and you really don't know when he's going to come back. Are you really in a position to be giving away starting pitching? Right. I know you have Boyle. I know you have Seymour, but you have Raz giving you 4 innings too. You have a Shane Baz that can give you 3 amazing starts and then gets shellacked by the White Sox or gets shellacked by whoever. Like, it's been up and down with Shane Baz. Zach Littell, the man of quality starts. So, like, I don't know. Is it really the right way to just give away Taj Bradley?
Well, the old adage is you can never have enough pitching. And when you think you have enough pitching, before you know it, the next moment you're in a pickle without enough pitching. I mean, based on all the injuries we've seen, and this is the time of year, I feel like, when injuries pop up, somebody strains their forearm, somebody has something with their elbow. We've seen it time and time again, mainly I would say with relievers, but it can happen to starting pitchers in a dime. So you might just want to try to hold your cards close to your vest. I mean, if a great opportunity comes about, sure. But at this point, you might have to just roll with the cards you're dealt. I keep making poker references, but it is what it is. We did put a comment out on social media. Which Rays player do you think is most likely to be traded before the deadline? Jose Caballero, Pete Fairbanks, Zach Littell, or Taj Bradley? Bradley got 13.9% of the vote. Littell with the most at 43.6%. Fairbanks at 22.8%, and Caballero at 19.8%. And I think there might be some thought with the Rays that, Taj Bradley is still young enough that, hey, he's still learning, growing, developing. It's not like his development curve has totally flattened. There might be more in the tank for Kyle Snyder to work out with. Or maybe not. Maybe it's a case of Luis Patino. I don't know. But I will say for Taj Bradley, even a pitcher, I don't have his ERA right in front of me, but a guy who gives you 5 to 6 innings a night consistently and will finish the year with a 4.5 to 4.75 ERA, those are still needed. I mean, look at the career of Jordan Lyles, for example. That was our
well,
and can I also make while we're talking about pitchers?
No, but before you finish, 110 innings pitched for Taj, a 4.35 ERA with a 1.24 WHIP. So I know it's like, for us Rays fans, we're like, oh my God, that's just sometimes all number 1 prospects. Sometimes they turn out to be number 4s and number 5s in the rotation.
Yeah. Speaking of pitchers, I hate to bring this up and it's totally out of pocket, but my wife, as people know, is a big Phillies fan. So she turned on the Phillies game yesterday evening. And who was pitching? Former Rays farmhand Chris Sanchez. And if you remember, Chris Sanchez was traded from the Rays organization to the Phillies organization in return for Curtis Mead. And we have seen how that trade has worked out, or not so well worked out for the Rays, because Chris Sanchez, he's actually been good like the last 3 years. He was an all-star in 2024, but I don't know how he wasn't an all-star this year.
Right.
But he's got a 2.4 ERA and a 5.2 WAR in 124 innings pitched.
That's, I mean, but
And I think he pitched
again,
a complete game and had 12 strikeouts last night.
And you know, that's another thing. Like with Curtis Mead, you have Richie Palacios coming back, you have Ha-Seong Kim, you have Carson Williams, and you know, it's in first base, if you want to put him in there, hey, Jonathan Aranda is going to be taking that. Third base is Sorry, that's junior. So like with Curtis Mead, he does have a little bit of an issue trying to get into the lineup. Aranda had the same issue 2 years ago, and finally he broke through. But will Mead have enough time in the Rays organizations to do that? Again, he only has one more option left, which would be for next year, right? So another guy, just like Josh Lowe, wouldn't be surprised if, unfortunately, they trade him during the trade deadline, just to try to get maybe somebody interesting for the bullpen, something like that. Maybe you package him again for somebody. But, yeah, another name that I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. It just seems like there's a lot of names, but we need to find names that can contribute in a big way. Yeah. I need some 780 OPSs around here. I need more Jonathan Arandas. Yeah. And I'll just leave it at that. But we do have one more mailbag question to get to. But first, we have to tell the audience something very important that is next on the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. Did you know that if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table? Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Nope, you didn't. You went ahead and called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's also why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more, who's handling this call? Also, there's an AI agent who handles after-hour calls, answers common questions, and captures leads, so you'll never miss a customer again. And here's the cool thing. They are offering Locked On Rays listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnMLB. Open Phone. No missed calls, no missed customers. All right, wrapping things up here. We have one more question from Gary, aka Elephant 2024. I would like to know the background of how he decided that handle. Maybe he's just a big fan of elephants. Who knows? The question is regarding schedule. How do you feel about the current schedule as is in MLB, with less division games, more out of division ones, and interleague play every single day? Does this put the Rays at a significant disadvantage with the imbalance of home road splits over the second half, insofar as all of the road travel the Rays have to do? The larger question beyond this is, should MLB go back to the way the schedule was previously, with more division games and less out of division and interleague when the new CBA runs out after the 2026 season?
I would, well, first, Gary, Elephant 2024, thank you always for being so active on the comments. We really appreciate that. Anytime you guys leave the comment, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. You help this podcast a ton to beat that YouTube algorithm. So thank you, Gary. You're one of us. So thank you. Man, I kind of dig the more balanced schedule. I want to see every other team, and I understand that it'll be a little bit more difficult to get used to it for those of us that saw the American League and the National League be different leagues, you know, with the with the pitcher hitting, for example, and then now with the universal DH, well, it's the same league now. I mean, it's the same thing. So I wanna see all the teams. I think it's a great marketing and way to grow the game, grow the stars in different markets, because baseball is incredibly regional. So the fact that, you can see a Paul Skeens in Tampa, that's pretty cool. You want to have that. And just as well, you probably would like to see Junior Caminero in Arizona. Like that. They also want to see that too. So
Right.
I'm all for that. I do think you're right. This second half of the season is going to be incredibly imbalanced, and I don't think the Rays, unfortunately, did enough or took advantage of those home games in the beginning of the season. I think they could have squeezed a little bit more. They kind of righted the ship after May 20th, but I think a lot of ground was lost that now you're going to have to make up in a very grueling schedule in the next, August and September. Is going to be basically like 65%, 70% away from home.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on all those points. And I mean, part of, correct me if I'm wrong, but the imbalance of the schedule for the second half for the Rays this year is due to not being able to play at the Trop and being at Steinbrenner Field. And you had to make sure that you didn't get shafted with a bunch of rain delays and other issues that can happen during hurricane and rain season in Florida. So maybe that gets remediated a little bit when the Rays are back in their more comfortable confines. But I'm with you. I like the balanced schedule. I like more variety of opponents, just for being able to see players that you don't get to see all the time, and maybe creating some additional rooting interest and legions. But we also have to think about it. AL East, as long as I can remember, that's been a very, very tough division. So anytime you can remove some games against the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Blue Jays, and for a couple years the Orioles, that's a win in my book. And I'd have to.
It just makes it difficult to, if you go under in the standings. Now, how are you going to make that ground up? If
That's
you don't
true.
Have enough?
That's
yeah.
True. And as far as travel, I mean, yeah, I'm sure it does make some difference. I'd have to, crunch the numbers and find out. But just because of where the Rays are located, they're going to have to travel a bunch, whether they want it or not, or in division games or out of division games, just like the teams in California. I mean, they're going to have to travel a lot. We don't have the luxury of being located in the Midwest, where it's basically equidistant from coast to coast. So, I mean, I think every year, the Rays have ranked pretty high in total miles traveled when you're facing your AL East opponents 19 times a year instead of 13 times a year. Like, no matter how you shake it, you're going to have to do a lot of travel.
Because, your geographical location is really not going to help you for the Rays. But just for a real live example here, the Rays are going to be playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 games in August at home. 8 games. 3 against the Dodgers, 2 against the Yankees, and then 3 against the St. Louis Cardinals. And then, if you look at the away schedule in August, they go to Anaheim for 3, Seattle for 3, Sacramento for 3, Giants for 3. That is a boatload of those games. That's going to be difficult. That's going to be grueling. That's not easy. And then when they come back home, they come back home. But, which, by the way, they have a Saturday off game, which I think that might change. But then they go to Cleveland for 3, and then Washington, D.C. for 3. It's going to be tough. August is going to be really, really tough. And talking about trade deadline acquisitions, man, with this traveling, aches, pains, soreness can happen. You don't want to think about it, but if you're not all set, if you're not all, backed up in the positions that you need to be, and the trade deadline goes by and then somebody gets hurt, like we saw in 2023, or legal stuff like we saw in 2023,
Right.
then it's a very uphill battle. It's already an uphill battle. It's a really difficult, and that's why, let's Quentin Tarantino this thing back to this beginning. You got to win against the White Sox.
Yeah.
You got to win against the Cincinnati Reds. So then when you have 4 games against the Yankees, we have the opportunity to see something that we saw in, what was it, in 2009, 2010, when Carl Crawford steals 6 bags against the Red Sox. I want Chandler Simpson to do the same thing, but against the Yankees this year. Can
That'd
we
be so
get
nice.
that done?
It could happen. That is my Chandler Simpson watch. Is can he at some point in his Rays career break Carl Crawford's 6 stolen base record? If there's one man who can do it, it is.
And can he do it against the Yankees like Crawford did against the Red Sox? We always have that. I would really like it to be done against the Yankees, and I would like it to be done in the Bronx, and I would like it to be done in this 4-game series.
Get it done. You want it done against Max Fried as well? I mean, you keep asking for things. So
okay, or Rodon, make it more difficult. Yeah,
okay.
Rodon or Fried, a lefty.
Fair enough. Yeah, and that also may play into the Rays' activity or inactivity at the trade deadline of, hey, they're not looking so hot right now. August comes around. Do we really trust this team internally? You're not, telling the players, but the front office folks putting their heads together and saying, we might be in for a little bit of a slide here, just based on everything that's going to be transpiring in August. So all the Rays can do right now is win the series against the White Sox. So you have to win. We're getting to the point where it's like must win games, like in the NFL, where like you got to keep chugging along. So yeah. The Rays are out of the wild card by a half a game for what it's worth. And the Texas Rangers are on their toes. So let's monitor that. In the meantime, make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Rays. That way you don't miss any of the great Rays content that we've got for you. That also includes the Rays postcast with Jonathan Shields. He is live after the final out of every game. And I mean immediately after every game. And with that, you get 2 shows for the price of 1, which is free. So make sure you take advantage of that. In the meantime, we hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later.